So, I reordered the slides. So I'm starting with DRBD. And maybe you have seen the recent announcement, the DRBD 9.2.0 release candidate 1 is out, and it comes with a number of amazing new things. We will do the final release of it before Christmas, so in December. I don't expect that major issues come up. And then in the new year, one of the things is we will need to work on the RDMA transport. So the RDMA transport is added to the open source DRBD release as with this current release I just mentioned, but it is added as a tech preview. And I expect that it takes us January to set up all the proper testing in our CI pipeline, in our GitLab instance. And then we will see if we can bring it to the same quality as the rest of the DRBD code within the first quarter. Then the other nice thing we have here is this Multipath TCP. And I want to start early next year to work on that. And I expect that we have that in the first quarter, maybe get it with the Q2 release of DRBD. What is it about? So right now, DRBD already has support for multiple paths and single connections, but they are used in a strictly failover mode. So it uses either one path or the other. And in upstream Linux, there's a thing called Multipath TCP. It was merged relatively recently. I don't know, 5.10, 5.14, something like that. And one of the enterprise distros, so Red Hat, ported it back to its distribution kernel with RHEL 8.5. And with Multipath TCP becoming available, I think it's a good idea that we support that in DRBD. I expect it shouldn't be too difficult, so I think we finish that until March the latest. Another big topic is we still have this stacking, and we need the stacking in DRBD to support setups where you mirror between multiple data centers, but also want to mirror within each of the data centers. And the challenge we have here is we don't want to send the data multiple times over the link between the data centers. And plain DRBD 9 would do that right now. So therefore, we still rely on the stacking. And I finally want to get rid of that and do that in a more clever way. And so there are some ideas. It needs to be written down, planned. But I think this is something that we will finish probably in Q3 next year. Then another interesting thing, 100 terabyte device. So we don't see that very frequently, but there are use cases where you want to have huge devices like 100 terabytes. So an application for that might be a video surveillance system or where you do backups to disks. And some people need that highly available. So the thing is, it basically works with DRBD, but you need to do a little tuning and handholding. It is just because the bitmap for a 100 terabyte device becomes several gigabytes in size. And then at MD ADM create MD, this certainly takes multiple minutes to write. And it is done with an IO control that is not interruptible. So you get a process that's hanging in D state. It's writing, maybe you don't see it, but you cannot interrupt it. So there are several, let's say, things that are not nicely to use. So we want to fix that. And yeah, I think it's a reasonable estimate to finish that before half of the year. Yeah, and then there is one of the recent things we've done is this receiving acknowledgements in the so-called bottom half context. So this reduces latency of DRBD, and that's awesome. And a similar thing we can do on our data path is this zero copy receive. So it shouldn't be too difficult, but since we have all these other things going on, I estimate that we will do it in the, let's say, later half of the year, 2022. Okay, that's